Room 13 had been the talk of St. Augustine's Hospital for decades. Patients who were admitted to that room, regardless of how minor their condition, never made it out alive. Some died from unexplained complications, while others passed away peacefully in their sleep, their charts showing no signs of distress. What truly disturbed the staff, however, was the look of absolute terror on the faces of many deceased patients, as if they'd seen something unspeakable before they died. No one had any logical explanation, so rumors began to spread. Some believed a patient had once died there in a particularly gruesome manner and now lingered in the room. Others whispered about a doctor who had performed botched surgeries in the early 1900s, leaving patients to die in agony. Whatever the cause, the hospital administration eventually decided to stop using Room 13 altogether, sealing it off and removing it from the official patient roster. But one night, Dr. Marcus Hale, a new physician skeptical of the supernatural, decided to investigate. A man of science, Marcus openly mocked his colleagues for believing in such nonsense. "A room can't kill people," he said. "People kill people." Determined to debunk the myth, Marcus volunteered to spend the night in the room. Despite his co-workers' warnings, he insisted it was just a room, 4 walls and a bed, nothing more. As Marcus stepped into Room 13, a chill washed over him. The air was noticeably colder than the rest of the hospital. The fluorescent lights flickered slightly, but he dismissed it as faulty wiring. The room was bare, save for the bed, a heart monitor, and a single window overlooking the dimly lit parking lot. He set his phone to record audio and settled into the bed with a medical journal, determined to stay awake. At first, the night passed uneventfully. The hum of the heart monitor and the occasional murmur of the hospital staff outside were the only sounds. But around 2:00 am, the atmosphere shifted. The room grew unnaturally silent, as if the air itself had been sucked out. Then, Marcus heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible but unmistakable. "Mine?" Marcus froze, his heart pounding. "Who's there?" he called out, his voice trembling despite his attempts to sound authoritative. The whisper came louder this time, and seemed to echo from every corner of the room. "Mine?" He scanned the room, but there was no one there. The shadows in the corners seemed to stretch and twist, creeping toward him. The heart monitor beeped erratically, though he wasn't hooked up to it. The lights flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness for seconds at a time. And then he saw it. A figure stood at the foot of the bed, its outline barely distinguishable in the dim light. It was a man, tall and louder this time, and seemed to echo from every corner of the room. "Mine?" He scanned the room, but there was no one there. The shadows in the corners seemed to stretch and twist, creeping toward him. The heart monitor beeped erratically, though he wasn't hooked up to it. The lights flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness for seconds at a time. And then he saw it. A figure stood at the foot of the bed, its outline barely distinguishable in the dim light. It was a man, tall and gaunt, with hollow eyes that seemed to bore into Marcus's soul. The figure raised a skeletal hand and pointed directly at him. "You don't belong here," it rasped.